This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Public Safety Building Complex meeting. It is currently October 20th at 4:30 p.m. I'd like to call to order the meeting. The first item on the agenda is the open time for the public, and I see that we have, looks like maybe around 10 members of the public here. So we want to allow members of the public to speak. As the facilitator of this, as the chair and the facilitator of this meeting, we're going to keep the time to speak up to 3 minutes, okay? I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but it will turn into a lot if there's a lot of people here. So would anybody like to speak on behalf of their concerns or inquiries? Or go ahead, sir.
Sure. Bruce Bowman, 202 Palmer Meadow Road. Part of this is my ignorance of normal procedure. Your body was brought together to bring forward a recommendation to the town and bring it to a referendum, and that failed at referendum. I don't know what the logical course of events would be, but I would ask that you defer on any disbanding of this board to allow the community to speak further. There is a developing citizens group. I don't speak for them, but there are a number of citizens that do want a public safety building, see the vital need for it, and feel that there may be a need for greater communication within the community. And so that I'd ask that you make no decision on disbanding. I don't know where you go. The other thing is, as whether there's ever an opportunity to have another community meeting to discuss it with no formal plan or action, but to have those who have all the facts and details, they can speak to the community that may be needing more information so that they can come to a better understanding and resolution. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak?
Can I sit, or do I need to stand?
No, you can sit wherever you're most comfortable with.
So I was at the last meeting, and my name is Robert Briggs. I live on Pleasant Street, Southampton. The last meeting, I just raised some points that I questioned in the original proposal that HKT had put together for the town. And so since then, I've been on a personal mission to dig a little deeper into the particulars of getting this project accomplished, money-wise. So I've spoken with a pre-engineered building contractor at length, and also an architect from a local firm that does both private and public building work. So between the two, I've got a few hours invested in this, and without rehashing a bunch of things, we're on very limited time here. Both parties agreed that a price target of $550 to $600 per square foot, all in, is very much possible. Also, both felt a hybrid approach might be best, using a pre-engineered for housing of the fire trucks, etc., equipment, and combining up a stick-built building for offices and the police department portion. We also talked about just some of the projected costs of 10% for an architect. And does anybody on the committee remember what the percentage was going to be allocated, or the up to percentage for the OPM, which is a state requirement, you have to have one? Does anybody remember? Was it 2% or 3% or something? Wasn't it 10% for the architects and 2 or 3 for the OPM, I think?
I thought it was 10 for both.
I thought it was 12 or 13 for both. Well, with that said, the architect had explained to me that he has been an OPM on a job before. And Massachusetts, there's a course that you can take. It's roughly $1,500, and the town could appoint their own OPM, which would save the town hundreds of thousands of dollars, possibly up to $1 million. I remember it was $1 million for the OPM, for a $1,500 investment with the right individual, and we'd have our own OPM. With all that said, it would bring the potential costs down somewhere in the $13 to $14 million, somewhere in there, for both. I'm hoping that the town will somehow come to terms with doing both, but if nothing else, if you do decide to do one or the other and then build the other, that it's done in a way that this is planned for now, so that if it is the pre-engineered portion, maybe for the fire department, because that's the biggest crisis, that we allowed for the building of the stick building portion for more offices in the police department at a later date on the same site, attaching to the existing structure that's put up. All of this seemed very doable to both the architect and the building contractor. We can bring the cost way down, and I think if we could get this somewhere in the low to mid-teens, we could rally the town. Maybe, but we'd certainly it'd be easier to rally than rallying 25 million, no matter what. And they both stressed that we could come up with a nice-looking facade for the building. It would be an attractive building the town would be proud of. So,
Robert, I don't mean to cut you off. We're just at the 3.
okay. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just Colleen Nauman from Old Harvest Road. I actually am coordinating the community group that's meeting. We're meeting next Monday at the library again. And I do think Bruce had made a comment perhaps to have, so Ian, you were at the last meeting. Would love to be able to have somebody from the building committee come to a meeting to really give interaction, not just like right now I hear some great recommendations. I'm not really sure if that's something that you all take into consideration and discuss. Is there any interaction between us today and you all, or are we just sitting here listening to you talk? And it's really difficult to have people with their backs to us too. This doesn't feel like a community meeting that way. So I guess my question is, what kind of feedback do we get from some of the recommendations that were even made today? Do we get that today? Do you have any comments?
No, we just...
You're just listening,
we listen,
and then what
that's it.
happens with this great
That's it.
information and research that this person has just done?
We take things into consideration. Yes, yeah. But we just listen at this point. We don't interact.
Okay, and is there any, I know Ian, you were at the last meeting and you provided some really good information, but I do think that there is a group, this group is very interested in making this project happen, but we feel that there needs to be better communication with the town. We look to that as part of our mission, is to help with some of the communication, but we also feel that perhaps the 30 million ask is quite large right now, and is there room for some kind of compromise? And then you'd have this committee all in to really help with the communication and perhaps getting more support throughout the town for the project. You're probably at my 3 minutes. So.
Oh, yeah, you still got some time here. You got a
That's right.
minute. You did it in
That's
2 minutes.
unusual.
All right, thank you. Would anybody else like to speak? Sir?
Sorry. Stephen Johnson, 20 Walcott Road. Member of the Select Board, member of the Board of Water Commissioners, and so I'm going to have to sneak out to get to that meeting in a few minutes. But as a volunteer, I've been helping the town coordinate the work of our consultants looking at the entire property and looking at how the array of different uses might coordinate, even to the point of helping to offset expenses. We've talked about shared parking, shared septic disposal, and a great number of things. And with the help of Pioneer Valley Planning Council, we're working forward to look at a schedule of grant deadlines that would provide potentially the next step in planning, detailed planning, and then if we're successful, invest in the roads and infrastructure. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I didn't see it clearly, and I might have to leave.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else like to speak or comment? Okay.
Have people signed in so that we have a list of guests?
They're not required.
Oh, they're not?
No.
I thought it was useful for our minutes. Not required? Very good.
The next on the agenda is the minutes. I would like to make a motion to change the order of the topics on the agenda to move right to discussing the next steps, because I feel like that discussion, some of the other stuff is predicated on this discussion. So with that in mind, I'd like to entertain a motion to change the order of the agenda topics and proceed directly to discussing next steps.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. Before we even start with that, would any of the committee members like to have a discussion on the next steps?
One of the questions related to what this committee is going to do next. And we've had discussions about whether we still have a charge as a committee. It sounds like we need to get the select board to give us kind of a new charge to move forward, because I think the charge was very narrow, not even to do as much as we've done. So I think that would be helpful.
All right. I would like to speak in regards to this. I went to, like Colleen had said, I had went to the that community meeting, and what I garnered from that meeting was support of a public safety complex, or support towards even public safety in general, but it was very focused on the cost. I found that there were some people that were okay with the cost, but I would have to say, from my interpretation of what I observed, the main concerns were cost. And it was not, again, it was, for the most part, short of people not speaking up, mostly everyone was recognizing the needs of improvements for the current situation of the fire and police departments. So, but really the predominant, topic was the cost. That's what I took out of that meeting. And, with that, I would like to present another motion, but does anyone else want to speak relative to any of this moving forward before I present any motions? So we have obviously a clear, transparent, discussion on this.
I think it depends what your motion is going to be.
Well, I just, maybe some other people might want to speak too. I don't want to make a motion without people speaking.
I mean, I just want to commend the committee on all the work they've done over the last 3 years. It's been a significant amount of work. Some members have even been doing it closer to a decade, not only on this committee, but also as a public servant in the fire department as well. I mean, if you look around this table, 30 years of experience.
Pass.
So, I mean, we probably have close, nearly 100 years of public safety experience actually on the ground providing services to the town as well as on this committee. So, I came into this process a little bit later than most people, but it has been an ongoing process, and you've done a lot of work. You selected the architects, you did the feasibility studies, you did, what you actually need. We started off at $40 million and we reduced it more. We reduced it to 27, working with HKT. There's just been an enormous amount of work that has been going on. You've had the public forums, you've had meetings, you've had outreach to the public. So I think that you deserve a thank you from the town and just a recognition of all the work that you've done.
Thank you. One of the things I have recognized was discussion from a lot of the public comes out when the cost comes out. That's what I've seen here. We had a lot of public forums. We've had all these meetings, and we haven't really had public here, but as soon as that cost came out, that's when, because that people had a specific interest in that.
That's the trigger.
And that was what triggered a lot of response, and I think that's important to recognize in our future endeavors with this, that as far as that's my personal opinion. So with that being said, did you have a, okay. With that being said, I'd like to make another motion. And I wrote this motion out, so forgive me if it's in error.
Here we go.
But if it's not, correct me if I'm wrong, but how I present it is not correct or confusing. I'd like to make a motion for the committee to decide on whether or not to continue to pursue the current feasibility concept plan or otherwise change course to an alternative approach such as building a standalone fire department. And for clarification, it would be those that are in favor say yes, then we continue with the plan that we have. Those that are no, we change course and go the direction of a potential standalone fire department.
So, may I ask a question about that?
Yes, please. I want to
You're
make sure.
differentiating between the existing HKT proposal and a standalone
Right.
fire department. But in there somewhere, is there the option of revising it such as has been suggested? I mean, where does that fall? Because that is different from
Sure.
what we
can split that. We can go forward with, again, that's how I'm proposing it. It's where my proposal is we continue to pursue what we've been pursuing, the current concept plan, or otherwise we go to a standalone fire department and it'd be a phased-in project in the future.
Ian, you're asking two questions.
Right, and that's why
And
I
I think what you should
preempted this.
ask the
the way
first
I did.
question and see what the committee decides.
Okay?
And then we'll
Yep.
discuss what we want to do with the second part of that.
All right, so let me revise my motion. My motion would like the committee to decide on whether or not to continue to pursue the current feasibility concept plan.
And I'll second
As
that.
is.
okay, may I ask a question about that? Does that mean what HKT has proposed?
Yes.
How about if we word it such that we continue with a combined facility
Yeah, that's what I was
as
referring
option A or a single facility as option B somehow? And that would leave open the possibility of modifying the HKT plan.
That's what I'm in favor of, differentiating between whether we're going ahead with a combined facility or a single-use facility. Make it more general. Does that make sense?
Can we open up discussion on this? I mean, if you want to have discussion on this? I just feel like we have to move forward at some point.
Well, of course, but
We've been in a stalemate right now, and we need to move forward. So whatever it is to move forward, that's what I'd like to see and make it happen, whatever can happen.
But just to clarify a little bit,
Yes.
so that if you're talking about staying with the current plan as designed by HKT, we've got the essential layout that they've presented that we've been mulling over for months now. But that does not preclude that can be trimmed down, all right? It doesn't mean that we stay exactly to that plan and size and all that, or are you saying that that's not?
I don't
Not
believe
amendable.
how much more it can be trimmed down where it's going to bring the cost to something that's going to be accepted by the community. Sure.
And I don't know if it's included in your motion. If we decide to go with fire station, does that still leave the option to have a design with the ability to be expanded?
You can certainly word the motion like that, yes. But,
So this motion is just to continue with what HKT presented.
yes.
I'm not comfortable with that, because I think it's a given that we have to modify what HKT has presented. Go ahead, Scott.
I don't think we can modify that plan. I think it's
No.
really a combined, at this point, I think the motion is, move forward with what they presented and with the plans, and then once we decide on that, then we can move forward with the next step. Whether it's modify a smaller
Okay.
combined or nothing, or a fire, or police. There's all the options, but I think you need to, we have a very lengthy proposal that we put on the ballot, and there was talk about going forward with it, so I think we need a yes or no on that.
So we'll leave, go ahead,
Just
Chris.
be clear, I just want to still be good.
Yep.
So does that mean that we're just pushing off HKT's plan altogether? It's no
That is-
longer,
that is-
no
that
longer
would-
part of our purview at all?
That would be the motion, but obviously it's up to the committee to make that decision.
That's my understanding.
That's how I'd like to present it, to make that decision we either recognize that it's potentially feasible and it can work out, or we're not recognizing that it's feasible and we have to move on to other options.
Okay, understood.
Could one of those other options be differentiated between a combined facility or a single?
Well, let's maybe start with this first motion like Charlie suggested. I think that clarifies things. Again,
I thought I understood it now. So, option A is what? We're sticking to HKT?
The motion will simply be to vote, my motion would be to vote on whether or not we can pursue HKT's concept design,
The 27 million.
the 27 million.
Future option about what we do.
And then after that, we
Say that again?
If this passes, there would be ability to have future motions to decide what we would like to pursue.
what to pursue that.
Yeah, so this doesn't end.
It doesn't lock us out of anything.
It doesn't, no, it's just no longer going with the $28 million concept plan as presented by HKT. That's what this motion is. And move to a different direction.
My observation is that plan is dead in the water by town meeting vote. And we need to take fresh eyes and go in a different direction. That's my opinion.
Okay. So for purposes of clarity, I'll rescind my original motion. And then the motion will be to move to have the committee decide on whether or not to continue to pursue the current feasibility concept plan as designed by HKT.
And I'll second that.
Discussion?
Yeah, since we're largely an advisory committee, I think however we word this, it should be, to Reggie's point, get the select board involved, decide what we think is an appropriate direction, submit that to the select board, say, is this the way you want to proceed?
Sure.
And then see what reaction we get from that.
Okay. Then let me try amending that. Any other further discussion on that?
Just looking at the HKT proposal, I think it's nothing about the work that HKT has done. I think they did a professional job. It's a very, very good, design. I'm just thinking about what will actually make it get passed. I mean, it's a conceptual design. I think it addresses all the needs. My own opinion is I support moving forward with that with my mind, but in my heart, I think it's more likely to make it through the voters by separating it and doing a staged plan. It's not going to save a lot of money in the long run. Short term it might, but we're just postponing building a police station for what, 5 or 10 years maybe? We're still going to need to do a police station, not 30 years from now. So where does that really leave us? If we build a fire station, do we overbuild it with the shared facilities? Do we put a 10-ton HC unit on it in anticipation of the police building? Or do we put a 5-ton and then in 5 or 10 years do we rip that out and now have to pay for a 10-ton AC unit? So where does that exactly leave money? Save money. It doesn't actually in the long run. It's going to cost more money.
I believe it will.
But on the other hand,
that's been Christina's.
We also need to get it. We need to get it by the voters.
Right.
So, my recommendation would be to move on from the HKT plan and focus on an alternative. I don't vote, so that's just my recommendation.
Well, I'll restate my opinion that twice now we've had two different architectural firms to do two different feasibility studies, all both concurring that we need 26,000 square feet for a town this size. We've pared it back to 21,000 square feet. Have I got that figure correct? This is what the town needs, and it was determined by a reputable firm 10 years ago that it's what we need. It's been determined again independently. Different fire chiefs, different chiefs. It's not like this is news. I mean, this is a confirmation of what was determined 10 years ago. As a taxpayer, I strongly believe that to build it separately in the long run is fiscally irresponsible because it's going to cost a lot more. And I don't like the cost of it either. We made a mistake, big mistake, not building it 10 years ago for $11 million. Here we are at twice that, more than twice that. It's going to jump in price again. And it is not the most, it's not the most efficient way of doing it. And I get it that and I don't want to pay it either, but it is it's what the town needs, and I believe we have a civic responsibility to get this building built. I would feel, I just think it's the wrong choice to go with the firehouse alone. I don't, as a taxpayer, I can't support it.
Would anybody like to comment? Chris?
I think my fear of a standalone is just that we will never get around to really doing the police station.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear, is that is not going to happen. That is our full-time police force. You guys are working in terrible conditions, and maybe not as terrible right now as chief facility, but living in that environment with the environmental issues that are there and ADA accessibility and many other things that are there structurally that make no sense for a viable police force in this town. Without some level of assurance in our motion that we are committed to both facilities, I would not support tanking the whole thing altogether. I want to see us commit to both the fire and the police station. How we do it, I'm not quite sure, but I'm not opposed to this sort of phased-in approach that I just heard Scott mention, whatever that is, but I don't know how we lock ourselves into, and we won't be the future people on this committee,
Right.
How we lock ourselves in the town in that regard to going to that step and not just, talking to thin air and then letting it expire and 10 years later, coming back and nothing has still been done. I don't know, I'm having a hard time with it.
I can see everyone's point of view. For me, I obviously, the police department is not, the old town hall is not meant to be a police department. It's not designed for a police department. It's not functional for a police department. I do see, however, that the fire department is in such despair that if we were to continue with the response or the results of HKT's study, that cost will continue to be turned down. I don't think that by paring that down even more, it's gonna create anything significant, because I think we did as much as we could. And then the fire department's building just continues to just, it's in bad shape. That's where I'm at. Perhaps, I feel like we need to move on beyond. This is coming from me. And again, because I'm the chair, that doesn't mean my opinion's more than anybody else's. I'm only the chair to facilitate this, that's it. That we have to move forward. And if we continue on this this path with the current concept plan and that cost, we won't be moving forward. I think it's going to be a stalemate and we're not going to get anywhere. And then more time is going to go on where the buildings continue to depreciate. That's how I feel.
I think we have to face reality. That I don't like it, but I don't think the current plan will go forward in the town. And I think if we continue with the same, I'm with you that we'll not move on. We'll see where we are. And I don't like it, but I agree.
I agree with everyone's comments. I agree with yours. I believe it is not the most cost efficient in the long term for the town. I agree with you. I just fear that it's going to be another 4 or 5 years before the fire department can safely put personnel in that building and the way it is. It's going to continue, and I wish more people would take tours of these buildings, in particular the fire department and the police department. The police department, don't get me wrong, I did a tour last week with somebody and they saw, our situation. But the fire department situation that's rough.
Voluntary tours.
Mm-hmm.
Ian, I've been involved in this over a dozen years. We've been trying to put a public safety complex together. I agree, that's the way we should be going. But after all these years and meetings and everything, it's very obvious to me, we have to change direction because the town is not going to listen to us bring up a plan that has that dollar amount and vote it. It's very obvious that's not going to happen. I think we should start focusing on getting a fire station going with the understanding, and hopefully long-term you and me will still be here and we can pursue the police station. But if we keep going in the same direction we're going, I'll be here for another 10 years sitting here going, okay, this is the third time we've tried this.
Well, none of us has a crystal ball, obviously. I think it's clear we did a bad job getting the word out about the necessity and the requirements, and we were not able to combat a lot of misinformation and scare tactics that were put out there prior to the vote. Obviously, the longer we put it off, the more it's going to cost. I'm personally still in favor of a combined facility, but I'd like to get away from the HKT idea a little bit. It seems like we dismissed the prefab concept, to me, pretty knee-jerk, rather than really digging into that more. I kind of like the suggestion of a hybrid. I'd like to look into that more.
All right. Barry, what how you said you thought we did a bad job. I thought we did as a committee everything we could to notify the public. We sent out, pamphlets to every residence. We had these meetings. I think, just to further support what I said earlier, if we had that cost on the onset of these meetings, there'd be a lot more attendance to this. I think cost really is the driving factor. I understand that from a taxpayer in this town as well, and I understand that from all I understand that. I just think if we had that cost, if we could say at the beginning, on step one, in the first meeting, that this is going to cost roughly $30 million, if we knew that, we would have a lot more people in this room at every meeting.
Well, I will add, though, that we had a public forum to which only a handful of people came, and the cost of $40 million was put forward at that time. So it's not like we haven't offered a figure to the town, we just haven't had attendance. And also, one of the reasons we had very little time before the vote, because we were modifying, we were reducing, we were taking it from 27 million to 21 million, and HKT's figures came in very close to the vote. So I will disagree that we didn't have the time. It wasn't that we did a bad job, in my opinion. We did not have the necessary time to then inform the public before the vote.
Okay.
So just to be clear, if we vote on your motion, that just simply puts the HKT plan as is off the table, primarily because of cost.
Yes.
Not so much, I mean, the design leads to the cost, obviously, but I mean, the basic needs assessment was done with the fire and the police to determine we need this room and this room and this room and this space, right? That's been dealt with. So, and we reduced those spaces already, at least once, if not twice, during this process. So by putting HKT's plan off the table, we're doing that primarily because the cost is astronomical. But again, it's been based on what we've been told that the square footage cost per square footage would be. But by doing this vote, that would allow us then to talk about all these other options. That we
I
want to go with.
will limit the vote to simply that. You know, I will rescind my other motion.
No, I agree with you. Your motion is to take the HK.
Right.
And we're not going to follow that per se. Maybe after that vote, we'll have another motion. What do we want to pursue? Do we want to modify HKT? Do we just want to do a fire station? Do we want to do a hybrid, whatever? But I think your motion is HKT plan as it stands, you want to put it aside. Not saying we can use that as a base for some future design criteria.
And I think we should also include John's recommendation that it's a recommendation to the select board.
Yes.
Yeah. Mark, you sound like you know exactly what I mean. So.
Good job.
So
I guess
we'll
make the motion that we not pursue the full HKT design as our sole model going forward, and make a recommendation to the select board that we modify our design options going forward, utilizing input from the public as well as maybe utilizing aspects of the HKT building, even as far as separating the two projects.
Better write it down, John.
It's recorded. It's really recorded, so we'll be able to get it.
I'll second that.
Okay, now discussion. Okay, all those that are in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those that aren't?
I'm confused now. What was that? And I was in favor of tabling it.
HKT's concept, yes.
I as well.
So it was unanimous.
Recommend to the select board.
Yes.
Now that opens the question of, is the select board going to readjust the charge of this committee?
Well,
I'd
looking
like
at
to
the
make a
charge,
motion.
I just had it a minute ago.
Sure. Would you like
I'd like to make a motion that the committee recommends to the select board a phased-in approach to the public safety complex with priority given to the fire department and all such designs to include a fully functioning police department to be built in the future.
I'll second that. Or I'll first it, depending on how.
discussion? No discussion?
You know, I come back to, you know, it would be a lot of work to kind of redo everything and look at costs. And I agree with some of the things that Robert said. If there's a way to do it, we should look into doing it. But it's got to be different enough that the townspeople would support it. And I think short of that, I think my recommendation would be to look at the fire station only.
So, with the spirit of what you're saying, Reggie, is with the spirit of this motion, you agree with it? Is that what you're saying?
I don't really. I think we'd spin our wheels a little bit for another, 6 months or 12 months and end up in the same place.
So you're
Because I think Scott's motion said, let's figure out a way to do them both. I think that's what the theme was.
Scott, can you read that again?
My motion was for the committee to recommend to the select board a phased-in approach to the public safety complex with priority given to the fire department and all such designs to include a fully functioning police department to be built in the future.
So I guess that I don't think that is, I think that is more what I agree with. So I agree with what Scott's saying.
Anybody else? All right, so that ends the discussion, so someone seconded, correct?
We have a second on the floor, I think, somebody?
Did someone second it? No, you, Charlie seconded it. All right, then we had that discussion, there's no more discussion. Okay, all those in favor of that motion?
Can you make a motion, Scott?
I can't vote. I am a
Can't vote, you can't vote.
You can't really.
I'm like,
Technical.
I guess I'm like Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
I can't vote, but I can make
that's
motions.
why I said I would first it, and then everybody
Yeah.
laughed.
Okay, so you're making the motion?
Yeah, because he can't.
Yeah, okay,
I'll second.
So Reggie seconded it.
all right. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those not in favor?
Aye. Nay, I guess we're
Nay.
voting nay.
Okay. That motion,
This is getting to be like Congress.
that motion is accepted?
So what are next steps? I think the chairs need to go to the select board at some point
I think that's where we're at.
and just kind of lay out where we are, get some feedback, or get a new charge.
Well, it's time for a new charge.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a new committee.
So the charge, I have the charge in front of me here. The last step on the charge, the way, if this was in somewhat of an order, was to complete the feasibility study and determine potential design and construction costs and report back to the select board with the committee's recommendations. So we're basically there.
Yeah.
You know, they determine the size, layout, locations, get the feasibility, you know, find the consulting firm, get the funding, all that. That's all been done. So that would be the next steps, I would think. So a new charge is probably a very next need.
Okay.
When is the next select board meeting that it could get onto the agenda?
It's the 28th.
Next week.
And it can get on the agenda at that time?
Could be. We may not have a charge written by then. I mean, I don't think we would, but I mean, we could get this on the agenda to bring it to select board.
To bring it to select
Right, yeah,
board?
would
Well,
be-
yes, then we would have to bring it to select board before you can write a
Correct,
new
yeah.
charge.
We wouldn't have a charge. You're right. To be written, yeah.
So I guess the next thing is a review of the minutes from the last meeting.
So as we proceed further, it would be, yes, the next step is minute review from September 22nd. Do we have those minutes?
Yeah. Around hour or one.
Is that the one you sent out today?
Yeah.
I have not.
Because up on the top, it says July 22nd.
Chris, you want some?
I'll share with John.
When was our last meeting?
Last month, right? September?
September.
Let's try it for
Yeah.
So it just-
September
Probably
22nd.
carry that over.
Yeah, so September. And I forget the date, 20th?
Oh, I have it written down. I think it was the 22nd. I put it on the agenda the day. Yeah, September 22nd is when we met.
1 month. Okay.
The only other thing I'll say is that there were more members of the public here which are not listed, but we can't, since we can't request a list of attendees, then...
Yeah, there were some people here who didn't speak, but one person spoke, I wasn't sure of the name, that's why I had the question
Okay,
mark.
so members of the public can't be listed unless they offer their names.
They could be listening.
But we don't know who you are because we don't have your names.
Yeah. We don't have to require
Yes.
signing this.
No.
I understand that, but then that makes the members of the public list incomplete. That's all.
My name down there if you want.
Thank you, I'd like to.
Jean-Pierre Crevier.
Thank you. Can you put that down, Mark?
I'm sorry.
Jean-Pierre Crevier.
Well, should he, is that even appropriate?
So in the minutes here, though, the
Or
question
the
marks.
speakers?
should we take out that sentence, or what should we do? Or just say a member of the public in attendance, and just,
I don't know the protocol either, but
I
when
know.
someone speaks, do we record what they say and identify them? But if other people
We don't
hear-
necessarily identify, they don't have to identify themselves.
Okay.
Scott, we'll defer to you. Do you have an opinion on this?
Generally, when it comes to public speak, people introduce their name and address.
But they're not required to in this capacity.
I don't believe they would be, no.
And should it be minutes, you think?
I mean, it's recorded,
Okay.
so it's public information.
Yeah, they're gonna get their name anyway through the recording, the audio being recorded.
But I would say that we don't list members of the public on the minutes if it's not a complete list.
Okay, so take that out.
That's what I don't know, that's what I'd say.
Okay, so are we saying take that out, members of the public?
Yes.
I think people like to come to meetings and observe without necessarily being recorded as being there.
I mean, you could mention in the narrative, maybe not make the list as you have up top, but under the open time, you could just mention that, you know, several members of the public or 6 members of the public or whatever were in attendance without any further delineation.
Well, let's do that. Let's,
That'd be one way to do it, I mean.
Just do a count.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. But we don't know from last time, so we don't have an accurate count from the last meeting. But we can have an accurate count for this meeting.
Just like church.
Eight members of the public, and we thank you all for coming.
A long time since they recorded meetings, sure.
You have a question mark here about someone making a suggestion that the committee follow previous studies that decrease the number of stations and decrease the number of engines.
It
Was
sounds
that
like we
a-
don't know the name of the person, so we
Oh,
just
that's
put,
open
we
time,
could just
got
put
it,
the,
okay.
Question is the question, and who would be?
yeah, so
Right,
we can just change that to a member of the public.
Yeah,
Member of the.
Suggested.
yeah. Scott's surname initial is S, not Z.
Yeah, no, I kept wondering who he was.
Under discussion of future direction, it should be Scott S. That's just a minor adjustment.
Make a motion to approve the minutes with minor corrections.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And I don't know if this is going to require a motion or not, but like I said earlier, before I made the second motion to discuss next steps, those steps, the further discussion was predicated on those steps. So for instance, code review, I don't believe is necessary at this juncture because it's not necessary with what we're.
No.
Rich is ready.
Yeah.
No, I'm not ready.
I'd like to make a motion to move on to adjourn.
I would suggest that we post the meeting with the select board in case a group of us show up at the meeting.
In case you have a quorum.
But that's probably very good.
Okay. So the next meeting is, the select board meeting is next
It's the 28th. at
28th.
6
Is there room on the agenda for that discussion?
We'll make it.
All right.
I just don't want to do 5 of us show up and all of a sudden it's.
Yeah.
All right.
Post a meeting of the Public Safety Committee, so that
Sure.
if many of you show up and you've got more than a quorum,
Right.
then that's okay.
Yeah, it looks bad when Chris escorts me out of the room. It just looks bad.
And then,
So on that agenda, do I put joint meeting? It's not a joint meeting, or just put
It's not a joint meeting, it's, I don't know what you call it.
Just a meeting.
discuss
just
future
attendance.
steps?
Yeah, attendance at a meeting. Yeah.
Yeah, recommendations to select board or something like
Okay.
that, yeah.
Okay.
then Christine, you want to go with your motion? Want to continue?
So we're not going to do anything on the regulations, is that what you're saying today?
What's the point?
Right, at this juncture.
We don't know what the select board is.
Yeah. Is that what the code review was, to try to provide answers to members of the public's questions as to, you know, necessities of a building? I don't know if...
Well, I think some of the code review is still it's going to be necessary. It's not that most of this stuff, as far as we know, are building codes that we do have to adhere to. Whether, I mean, the ADA ones, for example,
Right,
and various others. I mean, they may not be to the extent that we thought they would be under HKT's plan. I have no idea. But I mean, at some point, the code review should be a...
right, I just don't think it's necessary for this
Yeah.
meeting at this point.
Got it.
If we have a new charge, Chris, and a new committee, if there's no, I don't see any point in doing much more until we've moved on.
And if I may ask, is the select board going to reformulate this committee? Instead of going through codes and everything else and then finding out certain members aren't hearing them, it would be sort of like burning time for nothing.
Well, I think that's...
I think that the purpose of the code is to justify the cost, and, you know, and I was trying to do that, but, you know, the only way to justify the increase in cost was looking at the old code, comparing it to the new code, what were the changes. So I don't know if this committee is sort of responsible for, if we were responsible for design and design in accordance with the code, then I think it's more important for us to go with the code. And as I say, it takes a lot to fully understand code. You can read a book 20 times and still not know it. So I think it's beyond the scope of this committee to have us delve too tightly.
Yeah, I mean, I likened it to a Bible written in Latin for me, you know. I just, I couldn't, you know, it takes a lot. My brother's been a plumber. I had the plumbing section, and my brother's been a plumber for 35, 40 years, and he still has to see questions for people that, you know, as far as codes, so I knew I wasn't going to get very far with understanding it all. So, but anyway, that's just my...
Can I ask a question? You know, we've been talking about, in the past, the whole OPM architect, to get that plan as such kind of whittled down. So I realize that we've got to put forth a new idea, but at some point, we're still going to need this phase, right? And whether we swap our direction or whatever, you still need some architect and OPM
somewhere down the line
entity to guide us through this, right? Because they are supposed to be the more technical professionals than we are, or anybody else that we might put on this committee. But that still is going to be a requirement, no matter what we do.
All right, Christine, you want to go again with your motion?
To move, to table the rest of the agenda items and to move on to adjourn.
Anybody want to second that?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Thank you.
not in favor?
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.